What's up, guys? Classy Metal here. I've got my motivation juice, and we are ready to blast off with episode 7 of 7 Deadly Spins. I hope you guys are enjoying the series. I am definitely enjoying making these videos. I like being able to limit myself to 7 releases. I don't feel like I get too overwhelmed that way. Don't feel like I have to rush through. I can actually talk about the albums, and it gives a chance to kind of showcase some newer material that you guys may not have checked out yet and some stuff that you may have looked over. So I hope you're enjoying this series as much as I'm enjoying doing the videos. I've been focusing mainly on new releases, stuff that's come out within the past year or so. Today I have 2 albums, 2 releases that are older. They were released first released in the early 90s. They have recently received the reissue treatment, and I thought that would fit well into the narrative of this whole series, so I've decided to put those in this list today. They will be coming up a little bit later, but I've got 7 fantastic releases that I hope you guys take the time to check out, and it's stuff that I felt like needed to be shared with you. First up, we have a debut full-length out of a band from Atlanta. I guess they're a transplant to Atlanta. Over half of the band is actually from South America. They recently made the move to Atlanta, which you have to respect, especially in the climate that the world is in now, to focus on their music, and they released this fantastic debut album. Kudos to Nuclear Blast Recordings for finding this and releasing this debut. This is Irist. I believe I pronounced that right. It could be pronounced Irist, with their album Order of the Mind. This was released on March 27th through Nuclear Blast. This is 10 tracks. About 40 minutes of just kind of mind-blowing groove metal. I kind of slept on this album for a little bit because I'm not always the biggest proponent on groove metal, and I'm kicking myself now for waiting so long to check this out. Saying that this is solely groove metal is definitely not doing this album justice. It has some almost progressive sludgy elements going on at times. There are some definite hardcore vibes going on throughout this as well as some post-metal. There's some dissonance and some other type stuff. And speaking of dissonance, I believe it was track 3 on this Severed. That was a very dissonant, kind of spacey, atmospheric feel to that track, and then it kind of drags you in with almost like a thrashy riff, thrashy kind of quick pace, almost a thrashy death vibe going on in that. I was kind of taken aback, and I enjoyed that quite a bit, just the way that they were able to pull that off. Unfortunately, I think I got a promo copy. It came sealed, but it had a Sharpie mark through the barcode. I don't really mind. I mean, I don't collect barcodes, so I collect music, and the music on this is fantastic. This band has been kind of harkened and likened to Gojira and Mastodon. There's some definite almost sound influences going on that, but it's not over the top. This band is able to craft a sound that is completely unique to me. It's something that I haven't really just heard anything like this before. Very original stuff going on this. There are the title track of Order of the Mind, which is track 7, and the following track, Harvester. Those kind of mesh together so flawlessly and flow. I think it's actually the sweetest spot of this album. Definitely the title track, Harvester, and Severed were probably my 3 favorites from this release. I did enjoy the album as a whole, though. It's just kind of progressively sludgy, hardcore-ish, post-metalish groove metal. It's hard to explain. It's very accessible sounding. That may turn some people off. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm kind of, as I said, I'm kicking myself from waiting as long as I did to actually check this out. Definitely check out Irist or Irist with Order of the Mind. As always, I'm going to have all of this stuff linked up in the description. That way you can take the time to check it out. If you see something that piques your interest, something that you want to check out for yourself, definitely get down in that description and check it out. Next up is a release that a follower of this channel, he's also in a couple buy-sell trade groups that I'm in and that type of stuff. He posted this. I can't remember if he messaged it to me or he just posted it in one of the groups as something to check out. I checked out their debut album. This is their sophomore album that just came out. Checked out the debut album. I did enjoy that quite a bit. So I went ahead and bought that, and then I pre-ordered the new release, which I now have in my possession. And when this actually came in and I was able to give it a full listen, it completely and utterly blew my mind. I'm talking about the Chicago-based death metal outfit entitled Mace, with their newest release, Charred Field of Slaughter. I was absolutely floored by this release. It is very old school sounding death metal. It has this sound that takes my mind back to the late 90s, early 2000s sound of death metal. That was kind of my heyday. My love affair with death metal started around that time period. It has almost a old school Skinless sound going on, and Skinless was one of those bands that I found early on in my death metal journey, and I loved Skinless. And the fact that I kind of got that vibe from this definitely kind of grabbed me and tugged at my heartstrings a little bit. It's funny saying that an album entitled Charred Field of Slaughter is tugging at my heartstrings, but I absolutely love this release. The digital album only has 8 tracks. This has a bonus track. It has a track 9, Into the Acid. But the track that I wanted to talk about was the closing track, which is the original closing track on the album entitled Brain Rot. That track, for me, kind of wrapped up the album as a whole. I didn't even need the bonus track. It's nice to get more material, but as far as the album goes, hearing that song Brain Rot kind of brought the entire album together, bludgeoned you right there at the end, and it was a perfect closer to the album. There were a couple of other songs on this that I did enjoy quite a bit as well. I think Rogue Weapon and Xenomorphic Conquest, tracks 2 and 3, were another couple really strong parts to this album for me. As I said, it's just got this late 90s, early 2000s kind of dense, riffy, heavy death metal sound going on. I absolutely love this. So Andy, man, thank you so much for that recommendation. You outdid yourself with that one. Changing gears a little bit, we're going to move over to some black metal. This is a band that has a nice blend of melodic black metal and atmospheric black metal. And then it's kind of dusted on top with some symphonic elements. The band I'm talking about is Noctum Aeternus with their newest release, Landscape of Discord. This is the sophomore full length from Noctum Aeternus. I enjoyed their debut, Winter Spells, immensely. And when I saw that this was up for sale from Nottermont Productions, I went ahead and pulled the trigger as soon as I saw that they had this release up. I love the artwork on this. It captures the feel of the album perfectly. It wasn't until I started getting stuff together for this video, listening through and looking up the artist pages and that type of stuff, that I realized that this is a one-man project out of Argentina. And the fact that he is able to capture these soundscapes, these wintry, snow-capped soundscapes so eloquently within his releases while being from Argentina absolutely blows my mind. It is very fitting, though, because I know the Winter Spells album captured that same, it brought out the same feelings in me that this one does as well. And I always seem to gravitate towards Noctum Aeternus material when it's super hot outside, when it's like miserable hot, miserable humid, and I just want to take my mind somewhere else and take my mind to a cooler, colder, lonelier place. And I always reach for this, and maybe the fact that he's from South America, from Argentina, and is able to capture those soundscapes, maybe that has something to do with that whole vibe of me grabbing this when it's hot and miserable and I want to be taken somewhere else. Landscape of Discord is an amazing follow-up to Winter Spells. If you listen to Winter Spells and you thought he might fall off with this new release, do not worry. This is an amazing release. If you missed out on Winter Spells, don't miss out on Landscape of Discord. It is amazing, amazing, atmospheric, symphonic, melodic black metal. It is able to capture perfectly these feelings of loss, melancholy, cold, and then you have this like sense of overcoming and perseverance and getting through. It's a little over the top, but it is fantastic stuff. My favorite track, if you're looking for a track to check out on this, definitely check out Coming Home Twilight. It's track 3 on this, was my absolute favorite release on this track. Favorite track on this release. Don't be surprised if this one ends up on my end of the year list. It was that good, so definitely check that one out. Next up, we have a reissue. This was originally released in, I believe, in 1994 through Century Media, and it was recently giving the reissue treatment through Transcending Records. This is some English death doom. English death doom. Out of 1994, this is Enchantment with Dance the Marble Naked. This is very melodic type death doom, reminiscent of Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride. It has those kind of elements going on. I know it seems very cliche to name drop those two bands, especially speaking of UK death doom, but the elements are there. That early 90s sound out of England, there were so many bands growing from that area with that sound, and Enchantment is right there. The fact that they didn't get more attention, more acclaim for this album is a bit of a travesty, because this is phenomenal stuff. If you have not checked this one out, if you had never heard this one, definitely do yourself a favor, because you will be missing out. It has like some heavy riffs going on this to be so melodic with the death doom. I mean, the melancholy stuff is there. It's gonna beat you into submission mentally, but it is fantastic stuff. The vocals on this are a bit polarizing. I've heard some complaints about the gutturals and the kind of death metal vocals, if you want to call them that. They're not your traditional death metal sound vocals. The cleans on this work phenomenal in the whole doom genre. I enjoyed the gutturals on this. I know that there's been a lot of people that just did not care for it, but I think it works well with the music. I don't know. I don't get the hate for the vocals. I enjoyed them quite a bit. I thought it gave it a bit of character and kind of separated this from some of its counterparts. But after I've thrown every cliche and name dropped every cliche name that I could possibly throw at you for English early 90s death doom, all I know to tell you is definitely check this one out. I know some of you younger folks probably have not heard this. Do yourself a favor and check that out. I have to link up a YouTube stream, I guess a YouTube playlist for the album itself for you to check it out. It's not on Bandcamp. I also linked up the Transcending Records store, so you can pick yourself up a physical copy if you feel so inclined. So definitely check that one out if you have not done so. Next up, this was a band that I was not expecting to see on Gorehouse Productions. It's not the typical sound that I expect from Gorehouse. I know that Gorehouse is more than just a one-dimensional label. This is a band that I would not have expected them to sign, but once I saw that this release was available through Gorehouse, I ordered it, jumped on it pretty quick. It took forever to get here, and it's no fault of Gorehouse's. This thing was released, this thing was shipped and bounced around from post office to post office to post office. It would get like an hour from my house and then go across country, and it happened for over a month. Finally, in my possession, I have Oath of Damnation with their newest release entitled Fury and Malevolence. This is black and death metal from down under, and not from hell down under, but from Australia down under. It's the sophomore full length. They went, I think, 6 years between releasing their debut and this sophomore release. Pretty good stuff here. The opening to this album, I absolutely adore. The opening track is called Hulu or something. I can't pronounce that. But the intro to the album as a whole, the intro to that particular track, I can't put my finger on what it was about that. But it has to speak a testament to the album that the intro, the very first 30 seconds of the entire album, is what captivated me, drew me in, and made me know that I wanted to hear this whole album in its entirety. There are some other bleed-ins to other tracks on this release as well that kind of set the tone. There's some organ music going on in one. There's some stuff, and I enjoy that. I like the ability to kind of set the stage for what they're about to present to you in their tracks, and they do that very well on this. It leans a bit more to the death side of things, more so than the blackened side of things, but the blackened elements are definitely found throughout this album as well. It's got some symphonic stuff going on this, especially in the intros. You kind of get that feel of the symphonics with some of the stuff going on to create those atmospheres. It's just thrashy death metal, and my favorite parts of this album is when they actually kind of slow it down. They have like the thrashy, they have the double bass just pummeling you, and then they can kind of slow it down, and you kind of get these groovy catchy, memorable riffs and stuff going on. There is a solo on what track was that? Track 2, Abortuary. Man, that the solo, the guitar solo on that, they the track starts off, as I was saying, with kind of that thrashy, quick double bass hitting you, and then they stop that abruptly and hit their stride going slow. And when they get that slow, catchy sound going, I think that's when they're their strongest. The guitars work on this is phenomenal. I enjoyed this quite a bit. I definitely implore you to check out Oath of Damnation if you have not done so. It's kind of got a larger than life feel going on through a lot of this album. I guess a larger than death feel going on. So definitely check that one out if you have not done so. So good job on Gorehouse Records there by releasing that one. Next up, we have another reissue. This was originally released in 1993, and it was a nice little slab of death metal, nice little slab of, I guess, death grind. It's kind of grindy death metal. It's only about 16 minutes, I think, somewhere between like 16 and 18 minutes of material, and it was recently reissued by Burning Dogma Records, and I saw this, and the only place that I've seen this for sale was on eBay. So I have a YouTube stream for the little EP for you guys to check out of the 93 sound, and then I have a link to the eBay where you can purchase it. It's like $6 of free shipping, so there's no reason not to go pick it up. And they've reissued it. I think it was originally released on cassette, and I think maybe like a slim jewel case. They went the mini route with this. This is a Skeleton of God with Urine Garden. This is fantastic stuff. This is a much overlooked. I think it's been buried and forgotten for too long. If you're not familiar with Skeleton of God, they kind of fell off after this. I think they went like 16 years before releasing anything else. So of course the sound is going to change within 16 years. I wish they could have kept going with this Urine Garden sound. There's the little tiny disc. There you go. I was worried that wasn't going to play in my player, but it did. And then there's the little liner. As you can see, the big pot leaf there. I think they are out of Denver. They are definitely out of Colorado. People have been smoking the stuff up in Colorado forever, it seems like. It also came with a poster that I have not hung up yet. But very good stuff. Very classic. As I said, just a classic death grind, death metal band. The production value on this is you have to turn the volume up a little bit. It's very low in the mix, so that's the only, I would say, complaint out of the little MCD that I have going on there. But it's just a hidden death metal gem, man. It's been buried and forgotten about for way too long. I hope some of you take the time to check this out. It's just old school death metal. I mean, it's like the epitome of old school death metal because it is actual old school death metal. It's got 4 tracks, actually 5 if you count the little novelty outro going on it, but it's just 4 tracks of fantastic old school death. So definitely check that out if you have never heard of that, or if you've forgotten about it. There's your chance to own a physical copy of that. Last but not least, I have to thank Chris, a guy on my Facebook. He posted this. I was asking people what they picked up on Bandcamp Friday. I had a post going, and he threw this on there that he picked it up. Led me to go check it out, and I enjoyed it enough that I wanted to grab myself a copy as well. This is the newest EP from Verment, entitled Sinister. This is 5 tracks. If you count the outro, 5 tracks if you count the intro, 5 tracks of blackened death metal. Leans a little bit more to the death side of things. There are some blackened elements sprinkled in through this. Fantastic stuff. The 4 actual song tracks are very good. I love Necessary Evil, which is the first song after the intro, and then the very last track, which is the title track entitled Sinister, and then in parentheses it says To the Walls of Fire. I think those are perfect little bookends for this EP. They kind of smash it together. You got your strongest material, beginning of the end, and then all of the material itself is very good. There's not something, although I'm saying stronger material at the beginning and the end, it's good stuff throughout the album. So, or I guess throughout the EP, I don't want to make it sound like it wasn't. It's kind of a melodic, thrashy death metal, and then it's got the flashes of black metal going on. Very good stuff, self-released by the band. As I said, this will be linked up in the description, so definitely go check it out. It's got these catchy kind of, I don't want to say melodies. It has very melodic elements going on in this, but you listen to this little EP, then go on throughout your day, and as you're going throughout your day, you're going to have sound like songs in your head, and I guess like riffs in your head, and that general sound is going to stick with you as you go throughout your day. You think you just listen to it and move on, but it's actually coming with you. So that's a good testament. That's a good thing. Very good thing from that album. So definitely go check out Verment with Sinister. That's all I've got for today. 7 new releases for you. I hope you guys take the time to check those out. Let me know what you think about them. If there's some that you've already got in your collection or you've been listening to, I'd like to hear your feedback on them as well. That's all I've got. I've got some other stuff on the way. Don't know when I'll do those videos. My issue of the newest Morgrot is on the way as well. I'll kind of highlight that when it gets here as well. So, as always, stay classy, stay metal, and I will see you very soon. I promise.